All right, good evening, guys. Kenneth Tortoise Capital Nightly Strategy Podcast for January 24th, 2023. Start with the sniper trade of the day. All righty. All right, so we're working in treasuries, 3 minute. This was the close yesterday. Here's the gap up. This is the opening range 3. Second bar opens, collapses through the OR3. We get the short. Standard risk box. There's enough room in this thing to come down and test for 1 unit of risk versus 2 units of reward. So that's a legit trade. Checker hold. I like that the RL10's rolling over here shortly thereafter. Get the collapse right away. So at this point, would not be offended if you just took that win right there, because you have the big sell off. It's holding support and starting to rebound. Nothing wrong with that. At a minimum, you got to move your stop to about here. So that you're locking in that wedge. No lose plus dinner for 2. You're very interested if this thing fails below here. Like, that's where you should be thinking about a second position. I end up getting the an exit shortly thereafter. So after this test, it sells off hard, and there's a 1, 2, 3 right at the edge of the dragon. So we just lock that in. There's 1 unit of reward or risk, and so about 1.5 on that one. Gave back quite a bit, but that move happened pretty quick. So we like getting started well. I wait for the RLXD and the PSAR flip. Standard risk. The winter has turns to spring right about here anyway, so this feels pretty good. In about 5 or 6 bars, we get that nice upward movement. Look, I'm just tracing the lows here, and when this breaks out right here, and it's breaking out over the peak of the RL10, not later than that. You need to be at least to here on your stop so that you can lock that in. And then as you start seeing these rising lows, you might decide to be 2-bar low and then maybe even to here so that you can lock in all of that. Checker hold. Now on this little pullback, it holds at the edge of the dragon and then breaks out higher. So if you were in here at the spine of the dragon, and then 1 bar low on this. When this breaks out, you could just go ahead and jump to there, and now you will have locked in that much. Now you're at about 2R in hand because there's one. This is a reasonable place for the 2R battle drill for that second position, somewhere in here. We would not be offended by that. Kicking myself that I didn't put a second one on. So that little breakdown, this little hesitation was even. This was like 4 bars. That was 2 bars and continuing to go. So this is feeling pretty good. By this time, I think you have to have your stop probably there, 2 bar low or the peak of the dragon, because you want to have locked in that much goodness. Starting to consolidate here. And so this little formation in here, now that was enough to take the RL10 from straight up to sideways, and then because you got 2 little pullbacks in here, you have this one and you have that one, that's enough to turn the MACD into the fall. So you have a winter, spring, a nice long summer, and now it's settled into fall. So if we saw a summer, fall, summer, we'd really be ready to go, because this is already starting to pull ahead. And if you hadn't had your second position in yet, you know, you might add one here. And if you do, you know, the size of that risk box takes you down to the PSAR anyway. So if you add that position here, then you should use spine of the dragon, so that you're only taking a half a box of risk on 2 positions, which equates to 1 full unit of risk. That way, this thing could work right away, or if it fails right away, either way, mach's nix. And the exit hits shortly thereafter on that peak. Now I'm interested if this goes higher than here, but that's about 1, 2, 3, 4. This one was 1.5, so we're sitting at about 5 plus right now. What would we call this entry? Caught a 2, because we have a low and a higher low. If you said an SSC, I wouldn't be offended. I mean, that's not much of a sell-off. It only went from, you know, here to there. It took a long time to get there, but it was enough to turn that into the winter. So if you called that an SSC, I would not be offended. But to me, the fact that it had just put in that move, had a micro pullback, and is going again, that feels like a Kata 2. This is kind of like the best of all possible worlds. There's your risk box. Orderly exit at the PSAR for about 2 more. So now we're about plus 7.5. And that was it for the day. Sniper trade of the day. All right, here's our 30-minute SPY. Oops. So this is SPY on the 30-minute. This is today, the yellow box is today's price action. This is the size of the 1-day box. This is the 5-day box in the blue. Here's our 10-day look back and our 10-day low. So the 5-day volatility is as much as the 10-day. And the 1-day is relatively small and orderly and finished strong. After the gap down, finished pretty strong for the rest of the day. It was down a fraction day over day. You know, yesterday closed about here. Today it closed here. So it was a micro loss. But this was like a failure to fail, and has a nice little compression getting ready to make a break above 402. And if it gets above 402, off we go. A break below 399, I would want to be short. And then if today's low broke below 397, I would want a second position. And then this is not support at all. You don't get support until you get around here and here. So if it breaks below 397, 392 happens pretty fast. If that breaks, then you have a little bit of support there and a lot of support here. And if that breaks, look out below. So we want to know what those key price levels are in the S&P to get us progressively bearish as we go. But in the meantime, anything above 402 is free and clear, off and running. Here's our SPY now. On the daily chart, see there's our winter. Couple Kata 2 actions going on. This feels pretty strong. The RL10 is still in the green. It briefly broke above the peak. This is an inside day, so this is becoming kind of a compound critical state ready to break in either direction. And again, anything over 402.5, this thing is off and running. The next key resistance is around 407, and then 410, which is the 30-day high. And that's really where that thing will take off and go. And again, the same 1-day low, skin of the dragon, PSAR, 5 and 10-day low, belly of the dragon, belly of the RL10, 30-day low. So you got a very clear, demarked price ladder to the downside, and then opportunity and enthusiasm to the upside. That's the way it feels right now. The optimism is palpable. That's where the emotional energy is. This is all measured support levels and engineering. So all the emotion is on the upside on this one. And the fact that it's held a couple times is pretty favorable. And we're still in the summer, so that looks pretty good. Longest term look back, the 150-day. You can see it even more clearly here, that Kata 2 action. And again, if this breaks at 402, then the next one at 407 is where this thing really unleashes, because we will have left behind all of this. And then here's some resistance, and above 430. So this has a lot of room to the upside and some enthusiasm. This has some staying power. Here's leg 1 and leg 2 up. There was one leg back, and that's already been neutralized. So this is really the second shot at breaking north of 402.5. The fact that it was able to make a higher low is favorable. And then once we leave this behind, The upside is there. Now, the same thing that we see here, though, should advise you that if this fails, yeah, could we see a move back to here? Yeah, the last time it failed at that price level, that's what you got. And that happened in about 15 days. So this fail here is certainly not impossible. All right, let's look at the sectors. From a distance, you can see the S&P, as usual, right in the middle. You've got treasuries were strong, diamonds were strong, emerging markets were strong. Then worse than the S&P were the two growth U.S. sectors, tech and the small caps at minus zero point 0.2. So that's a little troubling. We'll notice that our metals, there's Alcoa, U.S. Steel, and Cliff. So Alcoa was strong in the metals, but our other two metals were disappointing. Now for the semiconductors, you've got Intel, Texas Instruments, and NVIDIA. NVIDIA with the second day of follow through from yesterday's superb move. So I still think there's strength in NVIDIA as a company because it's better than tech and better than its semiconductor peer group. So that's people believing in NVIDIA because of the that favorable report on new sales because of OpenAI that's going to leverage them. Tesla was able to keep it in the green today at plus 0.12. What was better? You had lumber, finance, materials, Aussie dollar, residential real estate, then a nice cluster here of commercial real estate, uranium, staples, agriculture, Mexico, as we have been talking about, silver, lithium, Brazil, biotech. So this is mostly not growth. Those are kind of specialty companies and sectors and ETFs. To the downside, you have consumer discretionary. You've got Bitcoin, lumber, blended commodities, the big fangs, Squarespace, oil exploration, clean energy, ARCs, marijuana, oil, Ethereum. So mostly defensive plays, better than the S&P. The disruptors mostly under the S&P. So this is still a cautious market. Tech did not fail huge today, but it did not have the big follow through that folks were hoping, with the exception of two individual companies. I would just say, hey, NVIDIA and Apple showing some resilience. All right, let's go to the traders. Actually, let's go instead to the swing portfolio. Had some updates today. All right, so we're going to look at 30 minutes. And turn on drawings on. So we've got just stalking Cliff, Devon Energy. Oh, there we go. Let me go back to Cliff. Yeah, we're still stalking Cliff. We had a nice long side trade, but it has really just settled into this little compression zone here. I would be interested, I think, in getting short intraday, and then if it violates the 10-day low around south of 1875, then pick up the swing trade there. The fact that this is like on a double bottom and declining highs, and the metals were weak except for Alcoa. That one is getting ready to, I'm getting ready to get short that one. And it will start with the intraday, and then if it breaks below here, I will convert that into a swing. Devon Energy. We closed that one today, so we started one on Wednesday of last week with this as our risk box here. Had a nice run up. Today it broke the PSAR and PSAR flips. We took the exit in here, so we cashed that 3-day swing to there and our flat in Devon. Ethereum, we liked the COT at 2. PSAR flip, long standard risk. It's had 1, 2, 3 days up. Today it broke, started slithering down. So we will take that exit in here. Mexico got long on this one Friday or Monday, excuse me. Today's Tuesday too. On the COTA 2, closed pretty well. My stop is here. I think I'm ready to move that to here. No lose plus dinner for 2, like the belly of the dragon. I don't want to lose money on that one, but I'd like to see it go. Brazil, excuse me. So Brazil is still, we're just stalking that one. You know, we had a nice long. We re-entered, got short and scratched, so that's all just scratching around. So this whole thing is compressing. I'm willing to trade this out of this compression, long or short, on an intraday trade. And then if it breaks out of this 10-day box, which is actually pretty tightly compressed, then I would look to add a swing to the downside or a swing to the upside. But as long as it's in this channel, I am an intraday trader only on the 3 minutes in the usual way. This is the residential real estate. Had a nice long trade here. We tried an SSC here. That's given us a nice move. Now I'm ready to add a second swing position if it gets above 90.75. I'm going to move my stop. Where's my annotation? There we go. Going to move that stop up to here so that I can lock in that gain, and I'll give it that much wiggle room, but I'll add a position if it gets above this whole resistance level. So if it breaks out of that 10-day high, I will be adding the second position. Check or hold. McDonald's, just stalking. Marijuana, we've got a really nice short working on this one. I should have put a second position on today because this little consolidation failed, and it is failing. I should have put a second position on that one today. But I will look to go turbo on that one in the morning. And what we want to see is, yeah, so it made a new 10-day low today. And then the next support level is here at like 650. And then there's the 30-day low. So as soon as it breaks below this 10-day low, I'm going to add a position. If it breaks below the 30-day low, I'll add a position. So there's still some downside left in that. We're not going to lose money on that trade unless it were to gap up above. Where would I put my stop on this one, you ask? Good question. I'll be like at today's high. So I'm going to lock in that piece with the stop here, and I'll add a position here. Check or hold. Clean energy. This one is a colorful trade. So we had that long trade to here, stopped in reverse for a fractional win. There was a COTA 2, so we're long from here, from 44.50. This thing has given us a bit of a COTA 2. I'm going to raise my stop from here to just lock in that little piece right there. So I'm going to have a stop just below, call it just below today's low at 45. So I want to lock in. I want to lock in this piece right here. I'm very tempted. Let's see, it's clean energy. I think I'd be willing to add a new position here because that feels like it will have cleared an important resistance level. Okay. Treasuries, you saw the sniper trade of the day today. That was the intraday move. So we kept 20% of that to fund this long position from here. On the swing trade, I'm looking at that much risk. It had a nice close. I'd be willing to add a second position above 108.75. So I'll keep intraday trading that with turbo. This swing trade, I'm going to put a stop here at about 106.75 so that I lock in that gain on the swing. So I'm a day trader up into here. Second position above 108.75. Yeah. So what wouldn't surprise me is if this resistance held at 108. So I'm going to watch that price level carefully. You know, if it continues to get higher and I'm day trading it, and then it starts to fail at 108, that's a good reason to get out of this swing trade instead of locking that piece in and just lock in everything. So if it clears today's high and then stalls around 108, I'll look to cash inside here. What I want to see it do is just blast right through this the same way that it did in that move. And it can certainly do that in one day. So I really want to see it get above the 10-day high. Tesla, we're in the swing on this one from here. Our stop was here. We're just going to raise that rascal to about the 1 day, let's call it 140. So we're into this from about 123. Pretty happy with that one. Let's see, do I want to add above there? Yeah, I think so. I'm ready to add north of this. So I'm going to be a day trader on this in this region, and then if it shows strength, I will keep 20% of that and add it to this swing for a second position. But that would be a very strong vote of confidence if it can make a new 10-day high. So I like Tesla there tactically. U.S. Steel, we're just stalking. The last trade on that one was this. But we saw the metals have been weak. And this is actually a little discouraging in U.S. Steel. We're promising if you want to be a short side. If it can break below those two, you certainly want to be short if it makes a new 10-day low. The question is if I want to be short in here. Only if I'll be a day trader in that region. So I'm a day trader between 27.75 and 27.25, day trade only. And then if it falls through there, that's where I would convert 20% of it to a swing trade, and I'd be looking for this target, then this target on the swings. Okay. Day trader up until the 10-day high is broken. Then I would look to add to be a swing trader above 29. So I want to use, if it does recover here, I want to be a day trader in this region to make some cash and then keep 20% of the position as a swing trade if it breaks above that. That would be a favorable move. Okay. And that's the swing trade portfolio update. Let's go to the traders. All right, here's a histogram from Nolan. And what I want to say here, Nolan, is that you're trading a lot of symbols, a lot of patterns, making a lot of errors that you're noticing later, but you're not taking the corrective action. The way to correct that action is to use the Kata 2 challenge, which is one symbol, ready to trade it right from the opening, and then decide whether you want to trade the supported spring crossing, the collapsing dragon, or the Kata 2, and master one of the patterns. Then when you come back to the close of the day and you look at that, then you look for the other patterns that you don't choose to trade those. And then get disciplined on that for 30 trades or 20 days. And master the patterns. This is a scatter plot of an effort. I will notice that your payoff is 3-2, but your win rate versus the loss rate is unacceptable. So we're close on the win rate or on the relative size, but not on the win. And I think we're going to see when we look at today's efforts, you're going to see some evidence of that. So the trades we didn't take today is the collapsing dragon, the second collapsing dragon, and that pays off. Even if you take it right at the edge of the dragon after a good move, you could have two positions in here on a standard risk, and that would be 1, 2. On the first collapsing dragon, that's 3R in hand. You give back 1, that should be +2. Now, this one, I like the quick exit and the stop, and that should be a stop and reverse here instead of here. And then when you're that far in the money, taking the exit at the edge of the dragon is correct. Then I wouldn't take this one long because you're below the VWAP and you've got Kata 2s all day, so you don't even need that trade. Don't go long south of the VWAP when the clear move is down, when energy's been weak. And then you will collect this one, and this one should be short here. I don't mind the scratch. This one should be short here, not here. When it comes, as soon as it comes through the dragon, you can be on it. So this one should have been about +3. Trade if you're ready to trade from the opening. This is not ready to trade. Too many targets, too many patterns, and needs more discipline. This is a case where less is more. NVIDIA. Let's see where we're at here on this one. Yeah, this one, I don't know what that pattern long is. If we were going to get long on that, we should be long here. And then you might have exited here. But, and then this is there's your PSAR move. And that one gets this one. So there's some errors on this one. We shouldn't be at -2. Too many patterns, too many targets. Satya in Alcoa, one symbol. Here's his OR3 entry. Gets paid. Plays the Kata 2. Gets really paid. Tries the short. Scratches. This should be your entry here because you have this strong move and the PSAR support. But this is still pretty good. Waiting for the PSAR flip. Gets paid. Two good efforts on the short side after it peaks and starts rolling over because now you're looking to get to the VWAP. This one is a quick loss and a quick gain. That those two about cancel. 5.5 in Alcoa. This is Woj. I like the short. If that's a -1R, I think your risk box is too small. Because we took the full 1R loss. Quick scratch. We should be long on this one right at here. Acknowledging other symbols. Good job staying out of the chop. There were months at a time where you might have made 20 trades inside there. So that's reasonable damage control on that one. This is we're going to pay a penalty here for lots of symbols, and I know we've been trying to add to that, so this is just the learning curve here. I like Devon short because energy's been weak. I think we gave back too much on the second leg down. So I think Devon was actually pretty good. Tesla, you got paid a little bit, missed the short. Tried the long, or no, tried the short here. So we should be short in here rather than here. And then we make +1 instead of -1. There's a trade here at crossing the VWAP and the PSAR flip, which wouldn't lose money. And then you wouldn't take that 1R loss. This is, I think, notice how the Z3 lines are pinching. I don't know that that's necessary there. Got a good paycheck on NVIDIA and then got chopped around somewhat. And this is too much trading in the chop around the VWAP. When you see how tightly compressed those Z3 lines are, notice everything is contained inside Z3. So we shouldn't be taking those at all, and that's where most of your damage was, is you're trading inside Crocodile River. If you're going to have those Z3 lines on there, let's pay attention to them. Let's see the move first that tells you it's in play. Remember that the main idea behind the SSC, for those of you listening on that one, is that we have to see the big move down first and then the reversal. The harsh winter of a big downward move tells you that there's a lot of emotions and that the bears won and that this thing is in play. Then the recovery has a chance for greed to come in and push it all the way back up. Or if this fails, you're going to get another big painful sell-off. So one of the things that you have to give them is the first big move down to let you know that it's in play. And you don't see those big moves inside here, which tells you this is just inside the chop. The pinching Z3 lines tell you that too. All right, let's finish up with the report set. All right, so we're still in sideways quiet, and that's a favorable position. Risk Z is pointing the way to risk on is still available. We're 1.5% above the 200-day moving average. Fairly healthy on all the lookbacks. You know, the turning point feels like it's in. Today was a small range day, as evidenced by all of the dojis. Had one breakout in Disney, one breakdown in 3M, which is offering 2.6 to 1. Just a handful of auto framers available. Not much happening on the patterns. There's a 551 in the finance winner JP Morgan, and that was in the green today, so maybe. And a 551W here in Verizon, but it doesn't have better than 2 to 1, so I'd steer clear of that one. Alcoa looks promising to me. That was such a standout today. And I'm also ready to trade Microsoft. Their earnings report wasn't bad. Uh, and there's and it has been beating Apple lately. So I'm persuaded that Microsoft is a stock of interest right now. In the ETFs, only one auto framer. That's in Staples. Big up moves in Japan and Brazil. Breaking out to the upside in Brazil. Try to remember. Was I short that one? I got to think hard about that one. Going back to the swing pattern. Yeah, I think I'm going to be ready to trade that long here. I definitely want that as a day trade in here, and I'm looking to add to the swing trade if it gets above here. Got my eye on you, Brazil. All right, regression line fractals. United Health and Tesla are still um, value plays. Now, Tesla's made quite a bit of improvement. It was at one point a couple weeks ago more than 10 ATR to the downside. That was the reason to be interested in it. When you're on this report, by the way, this is the equivalent of that harsh winter that triggers an SSC intraday. Is you're looking for a downward move, greater than 1.5 frog boxes, because that tells you this thing was a downward signal and the bears clearly won. That's what lets you know that this thing is SSC. All of these in here are ones that have had significant sell-offs on a swing trade basis, and that there's more than 2 to 1 to the upside just to get back to the RL270. So that one has some promise. United Health, Tesla, Pfizer. And that's what got us into Tesla. Um, Godzilla, King of the Monsters, CVS, still a quiet, stealthy Godzilla. Can we go look at that one? Sure we can. Calling up the TC2000 report here. Yes, indeedy. I think I like this one. Let me look at it on the daily bars first. Yeah. So this is a long look back period here, right? So there's your 10-day, 30-day, 150-day. Look at that sell off from the 30-day high, 104 down to 86. That's minus $60 on 140. That's 3/7. That's minus 35%. And it's right at a price level where that was possible. So that's the last time it was in a Godzilla setup. And that's what it did for the Godzilla trade. And so this looks like a compound critical state. It's either going to fail or rebound. So this is automatically interesting to me, since he's a Godzilla. Just want to give it a little room to look at. So it's in the bottom of all those look back periods, in the bottom 1 or 2%, and a relatively small 5-day volatility compared to the 30. and a relatively quiet one day. So that's a compound critical state ready to recover or to fail further. And even if it just breaks out of this daily box and just goes up and tests the PSAR, that's a move from 87 to 90. That's a $3 gain. So if I can manage a $1 risk, I have a 3-to-1 tactical play. And then if that breaks, you think it can come up to here, which is 92. So that's $5. And then if this, that looks like pretty solid resistance to me. So the reasonable upside target to me is about 93. Call that 6-to-1 on a dollar risk. And then if it fails, just look out below. But the absence of volatility on the 1 day and 5 day, plus the abnormal extreme location on the 10 day, 30 day, and 150 day is what makes this, it's almost like a pivot point right there, ready for a big breaks. So that's what CVS looks like. It's, if I'm going to use all of the TC2000, I might as well. Hey, it's got a 3.2-to-1 reward to risk ratio, just back to the 10-day high. If I use the 1 day box as it's 3.2-to-1 back to the 10-day high. It has an intraday MMRB of about 35 cents. And its range stat is $3.60, meaning it could make that $3 move in 1 day. So CVS should be on our list tomorrow. High payoff. Just an example of how you might use the TC2000 to help you rapidly frame out that stealthy Godzilla. So marijuana is going to be the same one. That's the one we're already short. And you saw the previous breakdown. That's in a Godzilla status. So if it breaks to the downside, massive gains. And it could also start creeping northward. VXX is already the little increase in volatility 1 day and 5 day for the VIX. But that's the danger signal for this sideways quiet market, is that people are getting a little bit conditioned to that quietude, and VIX is at an extreme sell-off and is just starting to show some interest. So that tells me that whole market is in that compound critical state. So let's not be taken unawares tomorrow. This is prime time intraday trading the rest of this week. All right. Standard stats. We're being dominated in the ETFs by the summer. Pretty good representation of summer and spring over here in the large caps. In our multi-time frame NDX, looking for some trends in here. Caterpillar, winners win. JP Morgan. That's the winner in finance right there, JP Morgan. It's been crushing Goldman. See, I mean, Goldman Sachs, if you just compare those two side by side, today Morgan was a 111, Goldman was a 76. Goldman is a 52.59 long-term, JP Morgan 54.88. So Goldman Sachs is winning the battle in finance. And finance is actually not too bad as a sector. We saw this weekend that it was the strongest of the S&P sector. So, that's an argument to pay more attention to JP Morgan. Latin America and Brazil. That's a stealth trade right there in Brazil. Short list for swing and intraday tomorrow. All right, that's everything we got for today. Hey, let me just give you the heads up and reminder that we're getting ready to start a brand new cohort for Creativity 202 in the middle of February at an unbelievable discounted price. I posted the the testimonies of three of the students who just completed their after action review and a review of their 30 weeks of learning. Transformational. Um, it's just an amazing course. The accountability and crosstalk, and you get lifetime access to the materials, and you get about 100 hours of the last cohort's crosstalk, going through each of the lessons in great detail. There are so many ideas in there that all of the guys from cohort one are retaking the course and are going to continue to work with us in the weekly check-ins. So you're going to be able not only to do the coursework, see their prep work ahead of time, but continue to work with them as they go through the course. So I can't recommend that thing too highly. Starting in mid-February. And it's only going to get better as we continue to record sessions and add to it. You're going to have lifetime access to all of that stuff. It's a gold mine. All right, guys, take good care. We shall see you tomorrow.